In the meantime, at 7 o'clock this evening, the Project Management Excellence Awards will be taking off. We will be here, we will be part of it, and we will celebrate industry persons that have distinguished themselves in the various sectors when it comes to project management. So ladies and gentlemen, please take notice of this. I brought my dress from 21 minutes drive from here. It's well placed in the car, and I'm not going, I'm waiting for that moment. So please, you don't have to run away after this section. Make sure you stick and stay with us so that we can celebrate the beauty of project management this evening. All right, thank you very much. So our closing keynote presentation, ladies and gentlemen, is about space. But then the question is, project management and space talk. And secondly, as I have learned throughout these 2 days, project management happens everywhere, whether you are aware of it or not. So to help us in presenting the topic, architecting resilient and responsive systems for project management excellence, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call on the Chief Knowledge Officer, NASA Goddard, Space Flight Center, US of A, Dr. Moses Adoko. A round of applause for him.
No. So, wow. As you can tell, I'm really excited to be here. And actually, I need 3 hours because I need to talk to you about space. I need to talk to you about program and project management. And of course, I need to talk to you about Africa and Ghana as an African. So where is Jumoke? I needed 3 hours. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to touch on so many topics, so bear with me as I do this. This is home. I'm full of emotion. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to stick to the script, what I have written to share with you, since this is a formal closing keynote presentation. And then afterwards, we'll do Q&A. And I know some of you have questions. If we've seen aliens, you like to know. I was almost moved to tears. I was trying to talk to a gentleman just before we got here for coffee. And he told me, someone that looks like me, he told me he doesn't know a black man works at NASA. So after this presentation, I'm going to engage the catering staff, the janitorial staff that have been taking care of us for the past two days. I was very moved, been running around the world doing this for the benefit of other children, other people. He said, no, I didn't know, I didn't think. I didn't even say I'm African. He said, I didn't know there was a black man working at NASA. Let me do this. So, is this the crowd, or we are still expecting the other group? This is it. Okay. So, thank you for having me. The PMI Ghana chapter, the organizing committee. Where is Jumoke? Where is she? I don't see her here. And by the way, I have to say this. I've done this for some of the chapters around Africa. And you have a fantastic, a wonderful, wonderful president in the president of Ms. Jumoke. Please. I've engaged South Africa, East Africa multiple times, certainly the whole Africa. ICIS here, we've been working for many years on this. And in Ms. Jumoke, I can tell you this, the passion, her hard work, attention to detail, her humility, disposition towards work. Yeah, I know she's somewhere working the magic behind the scenes. So please celebrate your own. She's wonderful. I have a metric to compare her to. So she's great. Again, thank you for granting me the opportunity to be part of this historic Ghana PMI conference on project management excellence. And as I've already indicated, I'm excited to be here and to be at home. During the course of this engagement, I intend to briefly highlight the need for project management in today's global economy and its relevance to national economies, specifically the West African economy, and of course, certainly my dear Ghana. I will offer you my take on some of the techniques and proven practices for architecting sound and resilient project management. And then, of course, I will invite you to join me on a quick survey and analysis of some of the contributions that project management has made to formulation and implementation of complex systems, which I know a lot about. And then I'll share my personal lessons for your consideration as practitioners of the project management discipline. A full disclosure, before I proceed. I'm doing this presentation as a PMI volunteer and in my own capacity as a son of Africa, and not in my official role as a NASA executive. Let me take that again. A full disclosure. I'm doing this presentation as a PMI volunteer and in my own personal capacity as a son of this continent, and not in my official role as a NASA executive. And I think I have some prepared slides. I will suggest you hold on to some of your questions. Is that an alien I'm seeing over there? Until I'm done, then we can get to the questions. So let me begin doing this. I think it works. It works. Yeah, so it works. Let me skip this. Do you know this guy? So Africa is the continent of my birth, as you can tell by my skin pigmentation and my accent on the Queen's language, which I'm very proud of. My accent, I hold on dearly to it. And for that matter, Africa is dear to my heart, friends. Africa gave me a unique perspective on life, family, and community. And by way of formal introduction, some of you have been asking me, who are you? I go by the name Moses Adoko. I always like to touch on this. My last name, Adoko, is as African as it gets. And I have data to back it up. The name Adoko, spelled A-D-O-K-O, seriously, is found in Cameroon, Congo, Togo. My Nigerian cousins will always be fighting over me. Certainly is in Nigeria, is in Cameroon, it's in Ghana, it's in Cote d'Ivoire, and these are the countries where I have data that the name actually exists. What surprised me is that the highest incident of the name spelled the same way occurs in the Republic of Benin and Uganda, and not even in Ghana, or Nigeria for that matter. And so you may be wondering, where is he going on with all of this? It is my short way of saying, I am an African who loves the continent dearly. So don't approach me, where do you come from? Which part of Africa do you come from? I'm a product of this wonderful, beautiful continent. Why growing up? I had the opportunity to live and work in multiple African countries, including doing an internship work in East Africa. And then, of course, the pursuit of higher education in the sciences and technology, engineering, sent me to the United States as a young man. I'm still a young man. And as destiny will have it, I have worked for the premier space science and exploration agency in the world, often known by its acronym, NASA, for 22 years. I'm pushing 23 years. Please, Ghanaians are good with maths. Do not calculate my age. NASA hired me when I was still a teenager. So you can tell from my hair, my beard. Yeah, 22, pushing 23 years. Currently, I wear this fancy title, Chief Knowledge Officer. What does that mean? And in that capacity and role, I'm responsible for ensuring that NASA Goddard, which has a workforce of 13,000 personnel, has the critical, technical, not fluff, critical, technical knowledge needed to execute our missions successfully. Underline the word successfully, not just execute, but to execute successfully. I have to make sure, this is where program and project comes in, I have to make sure our programs and projects, irrespective of their scope and complexity, have the functional competencies needed, and the proven processes and relevant tools, not just tools, relevant tools, and the right management and leadership in place to execute. So if you're taking notes on this, competencies, tools, relevant, not just any tools, processes that make sense, Not just anybody in management, right management. Oh my, and leadership is critical to achieve or realize mission success. Again, it is my long way of telling you that my current role is about ensuring mission success. It is not that simple, but I prefer to take the complexity out of it. So who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Apart from, now you know I'm confused. Who am I? In terms of my identity, he's an African. He can't even tell us his country. Who am I? Who am I to share project management tips on excellence with a highly qualified and experienced project practitioners in Ghana? Who am I, in case you want to know? In addition to my NASA responsibilities, I am also what they call a professorial lecturer. I'm a lecturer, short, at the Columbia University in New York. I'm also a lecturer at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., in a School of Engineering and Applied Science, lecturing, aerospace systems engineering, program and project management, engineering management, and related decision analysis and some other related. So please forgive me. In case you find me shift into that lecture mode, sometimes I just can't help it. I'm here for a conversation. I'm not here to lecture you. But sometimes, by default, I will shift. It will be that, not that Moses, chatty Moses, right? It's going to be that professorial kind of thing coming out. And so you forgive me. You're like, this guy, does he have a life? No, for hobby, I enjoy weightlifting, exercise. Cultural dances, not just watching. Somebody saw me yesterday morning dancing to the tune. And Jumoki, I'm disappointed. I was expecting them to play this morning as well. Are they going to come back and play? Oh my, yeah, so I enjoy cultural dances, weightlifting, and of course fishing. You can call me a fisherman, and that's a noble profession. And in Ghana, if I have to do something and do it right, I have to preach. Oh, no laughter there? I hope I don't. Okay, because I was told even Jesus Christ was a fisherman. So I enjoy fishing. So for hobby, that's what I do. I won't claim to be a good dancer, but I can move. So if you don't mind, let me begin by sharing a few NASA highlights that may be of interest to you, but also with close relevance to project management. See this thing? I'll later on talk about these pictures. Just enjoy watching them. Okay, I think I've talked about this. Let me stay on this. So at NASA, we interrogate, literally, the way CIE, police, the way they do their work. We interrogate space in 4 main categories: for knowledge, understanding of our universe, our star, our solar system, and our home planet, planet Earth. And in the astro category, astrophysics, what we do over there, we answer big questions. Are we alone in the universe? How did life begin? Where do we come from? Who are we? Yeah, carbon, nitrogen, we know from biochemistry. But no, who are we? So through that domain of space science, we explore those big questions. The James Webb Space Telescope that we launched last December from French Guiana, which is somewhere very far, I'll show you a picture of it, sending us wonderful images, fall into that astral category. So all our programs, earlier on today you were talking about PMOs. So I have PMO leads that worry about astro, and then we have somebody sitting on top of all the 4 domains, making sure we orchestrate correctly to make things align and leverage efficiencies. The second part, each time I talk to universities, I'm interested in science, what should I do? So I'm going to share a secret with you if you are still dreaming about working in the domain of science. Helio is hot. You know hot? In America, we say it's what? Sexy. It's a very small community of the space science, so there's room for you. Now, why is that critical? Through that domain, we study our star. If the sun was to go away, there will be no solar system. You and I are toast. And so there is something these days we are beginning to understand called space weather. Because that sun that you see every morning that you take for granted, push out what we call solar CMOs, coronal mass ejections, solar flares, aka solar flares, charged particles that are very dangerous. And so they sort of propagate something called space weather. Until recently, we didn't even understand that this existed. Now we have NASA spacecraft watching our sun 24/7, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Solar Dynamics Observatory, the mission is called, and it's watching it. And it's giving us an idea of how the sun actually behaves. Incredible stuff. What is so incredible about this? A few years ago, there was the power grid in North America, right? All the way from Canada through Michigan, all the way into some of the mid states in the United States. Boom, the power grid went off. Do you know what happened? Who knew that? It came from space. So those of you managing energy assets, ECG, are you in the house? Aha! Space weather can actually impact your assets. And so we are beginning to understand the cycle. There is a cycle. There is a science to how the sun, your star, my star, that every morning appears from the east, behaves. So if you're a young person and you're like, I want really to do space science, I'm pushing you into this area. It's my first love because, one, we don't have a lot of scientists there, so you make your mark. Two, it's critical. It's a virgin territory. You can specialize in an area that nobody else. An energy, a utility company can hire you just to help them with space weather predictions, okay? So incredible stuff. So NASA, we have spacecraft. We're in the business of developing new spacecraft to help us understand the sun. Then the third, planetary. So planetary, or the solar system, sometimes we we add on the moon, so you see lunar. It's where we study our solar system. The planets that we all cherish, Jupiter, And so when you hear about Mars Science Laboratory, Curiosity rover, which my good friend Ashito Leinu helped to help design InSight, it falls within that domain, planetary. We have another mission that will be so cool. It just got approved. Earlier on, you were talking about where do projects come from? Who said that? Where do children come from this morning? Okay, so where do projects come from? So we just got this mission approved. It's called Da Vinci. You'll be hearing about it. It's going to go to Venus. We've never been to Venus. And from all our understanding of space science, Venus actually has a lot in common with the home planet Earth. And then the most important of all is, Earth science. So my base where I work, we manage all the climate models. We have the largest concentration of scientists and engineers anywhere in the world at any time T. Okay? So the climate models, the satellite, watching what's going on with planet Earth, falls within that domain, Earth science. What is unique about Earth science? It's like, hey, what is Earth science at, let's say, Caltech or MIT against Earth science at NASA? Big difference. We study the Earth as a system. The Earth is a very complicated, very complex system kind of setup. And so we study things like the salinity of the oceans, carbon deposits into the oceans, what's going on with planet Earth. So then we look at the interplay of all these systems, even the magnetic fields surrounding planet Earth, impacts how the planet behaves. And so all of this fits into our models. And so today, we are at a point where we really understand the pulse of your home planet that we all need to live on. So let me see if I can advance this. Okay, I have a video and I'm going to keep quiet. Let's watch this. Let's see if this works.
We have uncovered wonders undreamt by our ancestors who first speculated on the nature of those wandering lights in the night sky. We've crossed the solar system and sent ships to the stars. But we continue to search. We can't help it. A central element of the human future lies far beyond the Earth. If we crave some cosmic purpose, then let us find ourselves a worthy goal.
Okay. So, let's get back to this. We explore space. Why do we do this? There's a friend of mine, Dad, who told me, you get paid to play in space. And I took offense at that, but because it has relevance, what we do in space has relevance to economic activity on the surface of planet Earth, but we get to that. We explore space to understand the origin of our universe, our Earth, and by extension, our place in the larger universe. In fact, I will extend it further by saying within the larger context of cosmic history. We treat the universe as a laboratory, and through deep space observations, which allow our scientists to investigate sometimes mysteries, real mysteries of the universe, asteroids, dark energy, dark matter, black holes, supernovas, spectacular explosions in our universe. Our universe is a very, very violent universe, very explosive universe. If you see the kinds of stuff that the Hubble Space Telescope has captured, and what Chandra as well, and what JWST is already beginning to show us, we live in a very violent, each time I say that I'm tempted to say something else, but we live in a very violent universe. We treat the universe again as a laboratory. And actually by extension, we are beginning to understand our origin as human species, as biological species, made up of chemical elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen. And through that, we have been able to determine the original sources of the elements that we are able to trace even to the stars. So when I hear things like the black stars, we live on stars, do you know how scientifically true that is? Because the basic elements that makes us as biological species, we've been able to trace them to the stars. So remember I started by saying we really want to understand the origin, where we come from. And so when you say the Ghana black stars, indeed, it may not be reflected in their performance. No, I have to. But indeed, we are all descendants of the stars. You see that. Check out, amazing stuff. The expression that we belong to the stars is literally true. As a biological entity, you are an output of the stars chemically. Before we watch the next video, allow me to make a scientifically correct statement, but it can be very controversial. And that is the fertility of the Amazon rainforest can be credited to Africa, to a very phosphorus-rich African dust that kicks up somewhere in the Lake Chad Basin. And I'm going to let you watch a video and then you judge for yourself what happens. But there's a storm that kicks up from the Sahara Desert right within the Lake Chad Basin. It gets airborne and travels over the Atlantic Ocean, a journey of over 3,000 miles, and then it gets all the way into the Amazon forest, and then it gets dumped down right there. Guess what is going on? The Amazon rainforest loses its top soil, phosphorus-rich soil, through leaching and soil erosion and flooding. It would have been one of the sort of barren lands in the world had it not been African-rich phosphorus that gets airborne. We didn't know this. Let's watch this. And then NASA, watch this, and then we'll talk.
NASA scientists have performed the first multi-year study using satellite data to measure the 3D distribution of dust that travels from the Sahara Desert to the Amazon rainforest. The Sahara is the world's largest desert. At more than 3 million square miles, it's almost the size of the continental United States. Each year, Saharan dust is lifted from the ground and transported by winds on a 3,000-mile journey across the Atlantic Ocean. A portion of the dust collects in the Amazon basin, the largest rainforest on the planet. Although dust particles are small, no larger than around a tenth of the width of a human hair, they form massive plumes that can be seen from space. NASA's Calypso Satellite was launched in 2006 to study the vertical structure of clouds and particles in Earth's atmosphere. Calypso observations from 2007 through 2013 show that on average 182 million tons of dust leaves Africa each year. Of this amount, about 27 million tons is deposited in the Amazon basin.
Sahara dust contains phosphorus, which is an important nutrient for plants. In the tropic region, the phosphorus is quite limited, so it's important to estimate how much dust from desert is transported to the Amazon.
The study shows Saharan dust adds phosphorus to the soils that help compensate for losses due to surface runoff and floods. However, the amount of dust transported to the Amazon changes from year to year. According to the study, this variation is closely associated with changes in rainfall in the Sahel, a belt of semi-arid land just south of the Sahara.
When the Sahel was dry, the dust transport to the Amazon in the next year would increase. When it was wet, dust transport will decrease. Using satellite,
So you get a point. I've been holding my NASA colleagues who were born in Brazil and South America, I've been holding them hostage. Each time I see them, I tell them, buy me lunch. Because my African phosphorus-rich dust, it fertilizes in the so-called food basket of South America, and by extension North America, because bananas and all of those tropical fruits in North America come from South America. So I've been holding them accountable. The point I'm trying to make, folks, is that through space observations and study, we do fully understand this natural cycle. The science from this observation and many others makes it clear that natural systems on planet Earth are closely linked and intertwined with a closed-loop impact structure resulting in a complex systems of systems output. I think I touched on that briefly. So studying just one system on Earth, you're going nowhere. And this is why we trust so much in our climate change models, because they are based on complex systems of systems output. And so if we tell you climate change is real, it is real. And for that matter, human activities injected because of these delicate intertwined links among systems on Earth. We have to be very careful what we introduce into these natural cycles. Let me begin my talk on project management excellence by asking a few questions. After all, this is a gathering of program and project managers. So now let's get into it. Enough of space. We'll get back to space. Question number one, let me begin by asking you a couple of questions. I think 7 of them. You can write them down. You can just make a mental note of them, and let's reflect on them. How can we speed up? I always ask this when I get a chance to talk to African audience. How can we speed up the cultivation of technical and managerial skills needed to transform Africa? That's question number one. Question number two, how can we quickly move from the writings of peer review articles, white papers, studies, name it, go on and on and on and on, to action and progress? Question number three, how can we leverage the opportunities that are inherent? Oh yes, there are opportunities that are uniquely inherent to Africa to transform communities across Africa. I'm talking about communities across Africa. How do we go about doing that? And friends and family, how can we collectively, as daughters and sons of Africa, launch this mother continent into the orbital plane of development? How do we do that? Question number 5, how do we go about preparing the next generation of project practitioners and a constellation of entrepreneurs? I'm not asking for 10 entrepreneurs. I'm asking for a constellation of entrepreneurs. Instead of job seekers, I want us to produce job creators across Africa and in Ghana. How do we do that? Question number 6, how can we use sound project management? Remember I said sound. How can we use sound project management and lean project management practices to lift people out of poverty? This is dear to my heart. And so for those of you that attended the Tony Emelu Foundation series, the African Leadership University series that I've been talking to, I always bring this up. How can we lift people out of poverty? How can we remodel, re-engineer the energy sector, food production, education, water supply, healthcare delivery? It can go on and on and on to address Africa's economic needs. Most importantly, some of you have been talking to me about this, the systemic developmental challenges as well as the social needs of the African people. It's very dangerous to do project management in isolation without caring about some of these things. Friends, I invite you to join me to explore these questions for insights. The theme for this conference is provocative, to say the least, but it's also uplifting and a strong message to me, and I guess to some other stakeholders. The theme, as conceptualized, requires a fundamental understanding of project management and an appreciation of the drivers of excellence and understanding of contextual dynamics. This is why you are all very important to me. Contextual dynamics of project implementation in Ghana and in Africa. The theme also tells me one needs to have a clear understanding of how project implementation is not playing out. Let me take that again. There's project management. But there is also sometimes the way we implement projects that may not be the right way. So in order to really achieve project management excellence, we need to also identify or have a clear understanding how projects are being implemented, and perhaps they shouldn't be implemented that way. I will submit that project management excellence in today's disruptive global environment is a function, I wish I could move and preach a little bit, it's a function of thoughtful design, and various speakers talk about this, agile implementation that is carried out by dedicated teams who are also supported by responsive leadership. And so the question is, how can we cultivate project management excellence and grow project implementation resources across Africa and in Ghana in particular? In fact, I'm intentionally using the reference Africa. I'm not confused, although I'm talking to an audience in Ghana. Because our project practitioners, we need to think on a continental scale, and even sometimes within a global construct when formulating strategies. Now, for someone with a NASA gene or space exploration heritage, allow me to say this, that a successful project management practice in Ghana and across Africa will be a very, very, very big, giant step for all of humanity as we face unprecedented economic disruptions, some precipitated by geopolitics of a complex world and other challenges caused by climate change or a changing planet. And by the way, in my line of work, we have seen climate change challenges that impacted other planets in our solar system, and the story did not end very well for those planets. The analysis of science and engineering on climate change is very clear, and the subject of climate change should be settled at this point, and the story is, our planet is in trouble from the effects of climate change. Before diving further into the project management highlights, let me share a few relevant observations on climate change, if I may. On December 26, let me move this in. I'll come back to these pictures and tell you their relevance. On December 26, 2020, one of our astronauts on the International Space Station, specifically from an expedition, that means the crew that was on the International Space Station in low Earth orbit, took a photo that got me concerned as a son of Africa. In that vicinity of space, in low Earth orbit, the astronaut looked down south from the International Space Station and captured the eastern coastline of Ghana. The image showed the Volta River Delta with a smooth sandbar closing off the Keita Lagoon, which is not far from here, from the Gulf of Guinea. Channels of the Volta Delta revealed something interesting to me, and that the Volta River actually used to have tributaries that flowed into the Keita Lagoon. Check out the image for emphasis. Friends, as the climate of planet Earth changes, we all know this, sea levels will rise, or will continue to rise, and the data in the climate models continue to paint a picture that is alarming. One of the consequences of this outcome is a real threat of coastal flooding and erosion. If you watch this, let's see if I can get the lighter. But if you watch, where is it? I wanted to pinpoint something. But if you watch very closely, there's a narrow strip of land between the Keita Lagoon and the Gulf. And there's a fishing village. Some of you may know this. Help me to pronounce this. Fuveme. Is that how you pronounce that? Fuveme. Okay? This village has essentially been swallowed up by the sea. Some of you may know this story. The shoreline at this particular village, adjacent to very close to Adan, and some of those close by towns and villages are facing a very serious threat from climate change. In fact, we are told, based on work done by Professor Pianin Ado of the University of Ghana, that the sea level at that part of Ghana is rising at a very, very dangerous rate of 2 meters per year on average. 2 meters per year. That's very scary. Now, we do know that the Ghana's eastern shoreline from Aplau to Plampram, a distance of about 150, 160 kilometers, has been identified as one of the most vulnerable because of a confluence. So, the Volta River Delta system in that part creates this very interesting scenario. And then you have strong waves from the Gulf of Guinea coming in from that part. And so you have this interplay of these two systems, and that makes that particular region of Ghana highly, highly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. The point I'm trying to make is that climate change is real, and Ghana will be impacted, or I should say what? Ghana is being impacted. Let me be diplomatic and say Ghana will be impacted. In other words, you have time to prepare. And I'm not the one saying this, it is UNESCO. We take our satellites, we see what's going on, we analyze them, and then entities like the climate change group at the UN, they will come in and we give them the interpretation and then they run with it. So this is UN's interpretation. This is not NASA. I'm just here telling you what the information is. So from the eastern shoreline of Ghana, if you don't mind, travel with me. Let's travel. Travel with me to the highest peak of Africa, the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. In Tanzania, this life-sustaining mountain, Kilimanjaro, is losing its glaciers never seen or ever recorded in human history. A NASA spacecraft in 1993 took an image of the glacier, the snow of Kilimanjaro. And then the same spacecraft went back in 2000, 7 years thereafter, and took an image. Look at the comparison for yourself. The contrast from the standpoint of the melting or the losing of the snow revealed an observation that became a sensation around the world and a talking point. Friends, losing the ice, the snow, on Kilimanjaro, on the peak of Kilimanjaro, will not only result in loss of revenue from tourism to that East African country of Tanzania, but most importantly, losing the glacier has serious consequences for the ecosystem and the watershed profile of the entire East African region and the countries in the Great Rift Valley system, right there, not just Tanzania. We are talking about people, communities, and a collection of nations in that part of Africa. Allow me to transition back to project management. See what I'm doing? I told you I did it 2 hours. At NASA, in my line of work, we say everything. I almost want to register this as a trademark. We always say everything is projectized. We came up with that expression. So somebody used it yesterday, and I wanted to tell that person to buy me lunch. No, at NASA, we have learned that we deal in complex systems. And the project management framework, this is not to make PMI look good. Ike is here. But we have learned that when you deal with complex systems, you need a framework that makes sense. So all the way from the days of the Apollo mission up to JWST that we just launched, which is the most complex undertaking we have ever done. When you get a chance, read on the engineering feat what we accomplished on JWST. It will blow your mind, the kinds of stuff that we did. Guess what? They all happen within projects. So we don't play at NASA when you hear the word program and project management. Don't ask me in the past how much we have spent on program and project management. It's a lot. We don't play. So we have learned that project management as a practice allows us to plan, design, coordinate, implement, monitor, name it. Complicated, this is why we embrace it. Complicated technical activities to achieve intended outcomes. All our missions, irrespective of their scope, can be a small mission, a big mission. Simple mission, like Moses going out there and end that Lean Six Sigma program, which I did. Did I say that? I'm kidding. It's a project. All our missions, irrespective of their complexities, have to fall within the project management framework. It allows us to get a hold of very complex and often confusing set of requirements designed. So yes, it works. Project management framework, as we've been talking about, provides you methods, tools. It goes on and on. And there was a word that was used earlier. It's proven. I was jumping in my chair. I wanted to say it's not just processes. These things have been proven. So sometimes you don't have to reinvent. And so if you are following a particular outline pin book approach for requirements definition, in my world we say requirements definition or requirements solicitation or requirements identification. Believe me, somebody has already been the guinea pig. Just take it and believe me, it will work. Sometimes you're like, oh no, I'm different. I have to really find this out for myself. Project management excellence is heavily informed by proven processes that are carried out by relevant tools and a cohort, let me spend time on this, and a cohort of well-trained project management personnel. Please, this is not a joke, this is serious stuff. When we had the presentation, I think you did, the presentation on end value management, I have a set of training requirements and certification requirements for any of my project managers that touches a project with a cost more than 250 million. It's not a joke. You don't just get in there because your boss said you are good. You have to have all of this checked. And so, am I getting nodding here? Because I remember there were a couple of, can I really trust this end value? No, it works. And if somebody is managing a project for you that is over 250 million, you don't want to joke. So we check the box. In fact, it has become a US federal government requirement. So this, NASA of course led the way. But now it has become a requirement. If you are working, forget it, not NASA, but somewhere else within the US government, and you are managing a project with a minimum threshold of 250 million, you have to have A, B, C, or D. It's done. And every year, I have to go around and make sure my project managers and program managers have done all of this and report all the way, we say OMB. It gets all the way to the White House. Think about that. So it's some serious stuff. Project management is a discipline, as we know, meaning the profession is guided by well-defined core knowledge, this is where PMI comes in, and a set of practices that produce results. It is a profession guided by well-defined core knowledge and a set of practices that produces results. The discipline has predictive attributes, which grants practitioners like you and I and sponsors a calculated or measured insights into outcomes. This is why I was like, yeah, EVM. Okay? The discipline has predictive attributes, which grant practitioners and sponsors, both practitioners and sponsors, calculated measured. It's not going to give you an exact. It's a dashboard, insights about outcomes. And so how do we begin to expand the benefits of project management practice in Ghana, in Africa? So if you don't mind, allow me to offer some suggestions. I'll begin by saying, highlight the tangible benefits of program and project management to leaders, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and oh yes, heads of state institutions, all of them, all and sundry. In fact, get our trot-trot drivers and small-sized businesses to treat their undertakings, their efforts, as projects. Why? Because project management fundamentals are applicable almost to everything. It's a common sense. And this is something I came to share with my brothers and sisters in Ghana. Please don't tell me this, you don't understand, Moses, this won't work in Ghana. When I hear that expression, please, yeah, you don't understand our leaders. I'm being given signs that I'm running out. I'm halfway through my presentation. We are not leaving. You want me to wrap up? The project management fundamentals of performance, scope management, cost estimation, scheduling, risk, quality management, I can go on and on and on, are all powerful for architecting project management excellence. Fundamentally, a project as we know it is any activity designed to achieve a specific purpose. A project has a beginning and an end. I have to bring that up. I was in an African country presenting, and a member of the audience pointed me to about 10 projects in that country that started before I was born. And having been completed. Yeah! And having been complete, thank you, sir, thank you. So anyway, a project has to have a beginning and an end. At NASA, if you look at our policies for program and project management, systems engineering, you will see it. It's big, it's bold. It has to have a beginning and an end. I had a couple of fundamentals to step through, but for the sake of time, I'll be nice to you. I'm going to skip that and get to something else. So let me a little bit, how do we do this in Africa? I think we need to translate some of the project management fundamentals into the African landscape for easy application and what I call contextual relevance. Sometimes we read the PIN book as an example. I'm not picking on the PIN book. But you read a lot of articles and then you're like, no, this will not work in Takoradi. We need to socialize the principles, the project management principles I'm talking about, and make the contextual enhancements needed in order to make them applicable and attractive in Africa. So this is my challenge to Ghana, PMI Ghana. We need to socialize the principles of project management and make the contextual enhancements needed in order to make those principles applicable and attractive. For example, scope management on an energy project in Takoradi should not and will not have the same contextualized execution process as one that I would expect, as one that's been done in Houston, Texas. I think you would agree with me. And who is going to do that translation? PMI Ghana. Failure to understand this difference will result in irrelevant processes, acquisition of expensive tools that are not needed, and execution activities that are not responsive to the African environment or the African business landscape. We also need to guide against unnecessary tailoring, customization, pushback. Oh, this won't work in Africa. You just don't understand our country. You just don't understand our leaders. No, I refuse. Friends and family, despite the obvious challenges, I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you to help advance the practice of PM, or project management, across Africa, and certainly in my dear Ghana. At my core, I tend to believe things will work out, optimist, right? But so traveling the length and breadth of this continent, I can report back to you in Akosomo that Africa is ready to deliver. Our people, the entrepreneurs I've been talking to across Africa, they are ready. Our people, our entrepreneurs, employers, even our governments are ready for progress, and you are needed to lead. Can I take that again? You are needed to lead. But you need to factor in resilience. This is an important part of my presentation, resilience. You need to factor in resilience into your leadership and management tool set. And so what is resilience, you may ask? Resilient systems of project management practice are essential elements for today's world of disruptive technologies and disruptions in general. The reality of uncertainty in the business world called for resilience, period. Let's have a very quick analysis of what project management resilience could or should have offered the world. The disruptions experienced by the global economy, sparked by COVID-19 epidemic and made worse by the war in Ukraine, clearly showed lack of resilience. Oh yes, lack of resilience across the board. And allow me to jokingly say lack of resilience in resilient systems. Because prior to COVID and the war in Ukraine, if McKinsey was to conduct a survey across Africa and across the world, you will have a lot of businesses bragging about how resilient their systems were. And COVID-19 and just one war. Can you imagine having 3 wars in the world? I don't want to paint a gloomy picture for you. This is the wheat basket of the world. I've been thinking about what about when it's the oil basket or the oil tank or the oil barrel of the world. Ha 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 ha. Friends, we have to rethink resilience the way we know it. See why I need 2 hours? This is my background in aerospace systems engineering, so I really can spend time on resilience. But based on what we have just experienced in terms of disruptions, there's a radical call for a paradigm shift very quickly to implement how we implement or manage projects, most sensitive of all, the supply chain activities. The world is experiencing these unprecedented disruptions. Nobody can figure out what's coming next. And to prevent a repeat of these global shocks to local economies, national economies, and organizations, resilient systems for managing disruptions are needed. These new systems, and please underline new, because I'm calling for new resilient approach. These new resilient systems have to be able to anticipate change, and most importantly, have the organizational mechanisms and institutional flexibilities and structures for responding to the fluctuations and disturbances in the system. For us at NASA, we always factor in such disruptive considerations when developing spacecraft or executing our missions. When teaching my NASA engineers, program managers, and scientists, I always have to remind them that it is impossible, apart from Hubble, to send a fitter, a mechanic, you call him fitter, to send a fitter into space to fix something that has broken, an engineer into space to fix something that has broken. And for that matter, they have to consider all kinds of disruptions into their systems. And therefore, they have to plan for, they have to anticipate the disruptions in their test scenarios. And sometimes they actually create, oh, by the way, and budget for it. And sometimes they actually create these disturbances. It can go on for 2 years and test it. I can't say a lot, but a few things, I could give you some practical examples that will blow your mind. How disruptions that were tested here on the ground save powerful missions up there. So it works. Yes, you have to budget for resilience. Budget for resilience is best practice. It's not waste of money. We have to create those disturbances to understand them and plan for appropriate resilient response modalities. You may simply call this approach just in case something happens, just in case something goes wrong. Oh yes, and things will happen and things will go wrong. That's guaranteed. Change is a default in human affairs. So things will deviate from the design path, and how you navigate to get back as a result of that disturbance, how you navigate to get back to the design path is resilience, if you ask me. It's the very, very, very definition of resilience. Things will deviate from the design path, and how you navigate that disturbance, that deviation, and get back to the design path is the very definition of resilience. I can actually get a bit technical on this subject of resilience. I'm very passionate about it within the aerospace systems engineering domain. Resilience comprises of planning, architecting a system such that the functional behaviors of the subsystems or the sub-elements are able to continue to provide you useful service in the presence of disruptions. The disruptions can be unexpected, unpredictable conditions. In other words, resilience by design tend to be outward-looking, protecting the inner subsystems that can continue functioning to give you useful output. Let me offer a few tips on how to expand project management practice, if you don't mind. 2 minutes, right? When planning for a project, I offer you these tips. Somebody has already touched on it. Measurable and observable value-added metrics, continuous stakeholder management. And yesterday I sat through one of the briefings by Lillian Lawe, right? Incredible stuff, incredible stuff. Always mind a triple constraint. And please, this point is important. Let me touch on it. Focus on practices that produce results and allow you to manage quality. Don't simply implement processes because it's captured in the SOP. This is provocative, but I have to say that. Don't simply implement processes because they are captured in PMI PIN book. Focus on practices that produce results. The real question for Africa, the Africa region and Ghana in particular, and I asked this earlier, how can we remodel, re-engineer project management to suit the uniqueness of African economic activities, our unique developmental challenges, a lot of them, and the needs of the African people? This is dear to my heart. How can we use project management to bring about social transformation? You're like, Moses, you're crazy. Where is George? He said, I'm crazy. Moses, you are crazy. This is project management. Now you are talking about social transformation. No, it's really, they are closely aligned. You can use creative project management practices to help alleviate poverty in Africa and create wealth. We can start by doing a few things and also do a few things differently. For instance, get rid of entrenched project management practices that have failed to produce results or outlived their time and place because of technological advances. Replace them quickly with effective protocols that can produce results. Simple. And if I need to state for the record that I have real confidence in the current cohort of African project practitioners and business leaders, including those practicing right here in Ghana. I have seen real results from practitioners on the continent. And so my confidence is not fluff. It's based on practical observations and a tangible drive across the continent for aggressive implementation of what works and leaving behind what has failed Africa for many years. This is real. There are many project practitioners, business leaders in Africa who are already demonstrating leadership in this course. And for that matter, I am grateful to all of you as a son of Africa. I know for a fact that many of you as leading practitioners and leaders are already doing what is required to advance project management excellence right here in Ghana. And for that, let me salute you and say thank you. But please, for those of you that have already made progress, I will appeal to you to scale it up, expand it, grow it, and remember to show others how to begin. In other words, expand your leadership influence by showing others the way, creating conducive environments for them, open doors for them, and gates and windows for them. Over the years, I have read many accounts and technical reports on project performance indicators in Africa especially regarding infrastructure development works. And of course, it is often about poor performance, poor quality, uncompleted projects, schedule and cost overruns. It's always in the negative. And I understand the complexities that contribute to such statistical indicators, as well as some of the root causes of these problems. But the question still remains, what can we do to change some of the poor project performance outcomes that continue to slow down the pace of our development? What can we do is a real question, instead of whining and complaining. What can we do? We can do a few things as a practitioner community. We need to demonstrate how agile and contextualized keyword project management can help to change poor outcomes, whether infrastructure, oil and gas, banking, government, telecom, construction, or of the above. We need to show business owners and operators across the board on how to implement cost-effective risk management. Risk management is lacking on this continent, and each time I bring up this subject, I'm told it's very expensive. So I'm charging you as a practitioner community to think about how to come up with risk management methods that are cost-effective for businesses. Four, we should creatively use project management to permanently get people out of poverty, not to depend on short-duration economic relief packages that are often inadequate. Friends, the project management profession has a lot to offer in this regard, and that is good news. We should conceptualize and implement project management practices with people as its focus. I have a friend in London that she would beat me up if I don't bring this up. She would always remind me, Moses, always strive for people-centered project management framework. And so we are calling for that in Africa. Profits are wonderful and an imperative for all businesses, but it is a win for all when businesses practice people-centered undertakings. I have nothing against charity efforts or donations to social causes by businesses and corporations, but we need permanent solutions for poverty and youth unemployment in Africa. We literally have to take time off and think through this problem. The project management discipline can be a vehicle for the transformation, or at least be part of the solution. If you wouldn't mind, I'm charging all of you to be innovative in how you plan and structure and implement projects. A UN study, I need to step through this. I've even started advancing the slides, right? We can talk. A UN study has projected the global population to be 8 billion exactly on November 15, 2022, with an uncertainty level of plus or minus 1 year. 8 billion. Africa's population is projected to be around 1.4, with, as we are told, with about 70% of sub-Saharan Africa under the age of 30 years. And as you know, Africa is still the youngest continent by a measure of population demographics. Friends, this is a paradox. It's a paradox for me because Africa is also the oldest continent by a measure of geological analysis and observations that we have made based on the earth crust. So tell me something. By population demographics, Africa is the youngest continent, but analysis of the continent itself makes it the oldest continent on planet Earth. So it's a paradox for me. Let's do a quick comparative analysis of what we call median ages. Let me get to this. And later on, if you have time, I can get to some of these pictures and tell you what they mean. So I want to take a look at this. So Latin America and Caribbean has a 31-year median age. Asia, 32. North America is 38.6. Europeans are pretty old, 42.5. And Africa, I leave that up to you to judge. Some researchers have even projected that by 2100, Africa should still have the youngest population in the world with a median age of 35 years. The point I'm trying to say is this is really, it calls for some serious planning, both short-term and long-term in terms of an outlook for Africa. We need to prepare the youth of Africa, but the question is how? Where do we begin? We need to address the needs of the young people without neglecting the old. Some people don't know how to do that. I've seen countries, seriously, I've seen countries that focus just on the young and the old are neglected. Yeah, I'm getting old, so I have to speak up. And then some places where the youth don't even come into the equation. So we have to figure out to do this right. But when you look at the population, the median age, and the population demographics around the world, Africa needs to plan for its young people without neglecting the needs of the old. I think we can do both. The statistical indicators are a battle call for all Africans, not just leaders. So there's something I want to leave you with, this message. Please do not leave the development of the continent to leaders alone. Some of them are doing their best. Some of them don't have a clue. Some of them found themselves in leadership by accident. Some of them are still figuring it out. It can happen to you, it can happen to me. This continent is so vast. This continent is so rich. The needs are so much. Do not leave the development of this continent alone to the leaders. And so I'm asking you as a practitioner community to brainstorm, come up with ideas, innovative ideas on how you can help to address some of the challenges confronting this continent. Let me run through this. And I didn't get to talk about all of this wonderful science. Let me leave you with my lessons. So, I have learned a few things, often a reflection of my professional journey across space science and exploration, complex systems development, program and project management, aerospace engineering, irrespective of the title I'm wearing. I have learned a few things that have served me, and some of them I'm still learning. So if you wouldn't mind, let me share some of these lessons with you. The first lesson that I want to touch on is that I have learned that in all technical, managerial, or leadership role, vision or strategic thinking is not sufficient. You're like, what is he saying? Being smart, being intelligent, technically gifted, being strategic in your planning is not sufficient. It's critical, but it's not sufficient. I have learned that in order to succeed, you need to value and respect people, peers, subordinates, senior colleagues, employees, customers, and communities. It is not enough to be technically gifted, brilliant, but disrespectful towards people, your peers, your subordinates. We need to understand what it means to respect others. It goes beyond yes, sir, and it goes beyond yes, ma'am. That's a whole topic on itself. I have also learned that leadership in any form, whether for a corporation or a community, is about service and not lordship. In fact, I will submit that that is one way of demonstrating respect for the group that you are leading, and that is to serve them. By serving people, you are leading them. You demonstrate respect for the trust that they put in you. I have learned that technical humility and excellence in project management or service delivery is critical and an attribute of professional growth and a requirement. And so when I meet people or interviewing people, that's what I look for. Lesson number 2, and I'm almost done. I have learned to be curious based on a genuine desire to understand. Simply that, not to show off, not to argue, or not to settle personal scores. I have also learned that it's also important to establish relationships in order to understand and build a community of understanding. I like this. You need to build a community of understanding in order for you to execute the mission. Otherwise, it is impossible to do it alone. And I'm going to skip this. I have more to say on this, but let me jump to lesson number 3. I have learned that systems by design, whether technical or institutional, are better optimized when multiple pathways are analyzed. In short, diversity of thought, diversity of skill sets and ideas are essential ingredients for optimal solutions. And so I have learned to respect diversity in all its forms. Let me take this again. I have learned to respect diversity in its forms. I can address the United Nations, and you can take me to your child's grade school, and I can sit on the floor and talk to those kids. I have learned that diversity comes in different forms. Please learn to welcome differences and know that differences come in different forms. Also, as a leader, you must welcome unpleasant and bad news from your team members. The last time I said this, I was taken to task over this. This is very important. You do not want, as a leader, you do not want to create a project management culture or subculture where your team members or your projects are afraid to bring you bad news or unpleasant news. When you operate in that manner, you will lose critical cues and insights on how to manage risk. In order to cultivate a culture of excellence, it is an imperative to know what is working and what is not working. So what is not working, AKA is bad news. Lesson number 4. Always, I like this, always look forward to the future with a sense of anticipation and be ready to celebrate the future. On that note, I need to point out the future is for those who can handle ambiguity and uncertainty. In our world is being defined by uncertainty and disruptions, climate change events, geopolitics, trade wars, social crisis. And as someone who has supported space science and exploration, which is essentially a journey onto the unknown for over 22 years, I have learned that the future is for those with the mindset and the dexterity, the flexibility to handle chaos, ambiguity, and the unknown, and still manage to what? Stay calm. You see, what often appears as chaos and confusion in the distant future are the same elements that with the passage of time and guided curiosity becomes the welcoming light to new horizons, new stars, and new constellations of accomplishments, just as JWST continues to bring us. And so family and friends in Ghana, be encouraged in your project management practice and leadership roles. Leverage diversity in all its forms and celebrate the future. Find innovation within your existing structures and your project management practices. Cultivate a culture of project management excellence in Ghana and across Africa. Adopt and mentor a young graduate looking for work. Please just do it. It is one of the most rewarding give-back models in the world. The human spirit, from our own Serengeti here in East African plains to our present space and quantum civilization age, has always looked beyond challenges and overcome them. So we will overcome the current set of challenges, disruptions, uncertainties in the world. Be encouraged. Thank you. You rush.
Dr. Moses Adoko, ladies and gentlemen. The speed, the rhythm of the presentation is the explosion that closes our conference today, ladies and gentlemen. 2 days of exceptional professional development and training that will definitely go a long way to improve personal skill sets and empower leaders to strategically drive organizational goals in the right direction. Project management is the way forward. We are grateful to you. Unfortunately, because of time, we couldn't see the aliens.
Yeah. Oh.
Where were they in project management? Were they really part of the presentation, or they were somewhere that we couldn't find them?
Oh, is that a question?
I'm just trying to find out from you.
So, to be determined.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have representation, and I'd like to call on the PMI Ghana President, Ms. Jumoke Lafenwa. This is to you, Dr. Moses Adoko.
Before I present the certificate to him, I'm going to work with him to find a suitable time for us to have a virtual session of this rushed presentation.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Moses Adoko. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.